Why enlightenment? Why do these Buddhists travel the world and talk enlightenment, enlightenment? What's so important about enlightenment? The Buddhist attitude is that the most 99% of human problems come from the human mind itself. Nature gives us 1% of our problems, just being alive and the struggle of living and so on, but 99% come from the negative mind. So enlightenment really means the transcendence of the negative mind. And those problems created by the negative mind are not just problems created for the individual, but an individual with negative mind goes on to create problems for others. And so enlightenment here really means the transcendence of the negative mind, so that we stop creating problems for unnecessary problems from self and others. And it also has a sense of expansion in the expanding the mind to a deeper understanding of what's actually going on. Like, what is our life about? Here, great Indian masters such as Nagarjuna and Asanga and so forth like to talk about the two things simultaneously happening at all times. One of those things is that we have a kind of an experience and interpret that experience in a particular way. The other thing going on is that the way we experience and our interpretation of the experience tend to be a very limited context of the overall picture of reality. As a result, we're always, if you will, living a life of guesswork. Now, guesswork is okay, except when we throw in the negative mind, even the guesswork becomes fallacious and becomes error-bound. So enlightenment here, from this first side, refers to transcending of the negative mind, so that as we live our life, we're not, as the Dalai Lama put it, continually poking ourselves in the eye with our own finger and then complaining that we have a sore eye. And from the other side, it's trying to become more sensitive to the actual process of life. In other words, what's actually happening in our life. So those two terms come into the word Buddha in Tibetan, Sangye. Transcendence of the negative mind. Sometimes Sang also means to wake up, like waking up from sleep, in that when we're angry at someone, it's like a dream. We're not really living a wide-awake life. We're under the spell of a dream, the evil magician of anger, something like that, or the evil sorcerer of anger. And so when we wake up from that, that's a kind of a song. It's a kind of an awakening, if you will. Well, of course, to wake up from one attachments or one angers and one jealousies and one this and one that's, it's a good thing to do. But what we want to do is understand why we become angry, why we become attached, why we become proud and arrogant and jealous, why we become condescending, why all these 84,000 kleshas, as the Buddhists call them, 84,000 negative mind states. rise and fall. So if we look at the other side, Gyepa, the expansion, the more deeply we can understand the processes of how the mind works and how life works, the more we can resolve the problems of the negative mind on ever deeper levels. Otherwise, it's a little bit like a game of the groundhog pops up when we bang it on the head with a stick, a video game like that, and then it pops up another way. We just endlessly are running around hitting little groundhogs on the head with a stick, but they go back down the hole and come out a different hole. So through Gyepa, through the expansion of awareness, expansion of consciousness, you could say kind of a mystical consciousness, if you will, or spiritual consciousness, understanding the mind on a more deep level, we transcend the negative mind. So to take this idea that 99% of human problems come from our own making, what enlightenment means is simply waking up from making of continually poking ourselves in the eye or shooting ourselves in the foot. Now, if we don't do that, what happens? Then we go through our life and we like squirrels and dogs and so forth, we gather nuts or chase bitches and so forth, and our life goes day by day and week by week and month by month, and then we come near our death and our actual wisdom quality hasn't developed very much. Our freedom from negative mind hasn't developed very much. And enlightenment means, therefore, with each day, not just chasing nuts like squirrels do or chasing bitches like dogs do, but rather to try to use each day to deeper understand the processes of the spirit, the processes of the mind, the processes of understanding. And if we can accomplish that fully, then we become a Buddha. Becoming a Buddha means no more negative mind, therefore no more 99% of the problems that humans face. We're just stuck with the 1% of problems left by nature, and those 1% we can understand and get along with quite happily. Secondly, if we don't take the responsibility for our own spiritual evolution or spiritual evolution, then our life is not only lost in terms of meaning, it passes to superficiality, as the Nagarjuna puts it in one of his texts. Not only does our life pass in superficialities, but because of not taking responsibility for the activities of the negative mind, we unconsciously perpetuate this negativity, grows stronger within ourselves through our non-awareness of it and non-control of it. Humans are creatures of habit. And of course, then we inflict it upon the world. So, I think in the Buddhist world, we think you have to really do 3 things for this to work. And first, you have to study a little bit the words of the mystics and the words of the great masters and contemplate. Secondly, contemplate. And thirdly, to practice very deep meditation or very deep stillness so that you can see what's going on behind the facade of the illusory drama of the senses. In other words, to get into the innermost workings of your own soul, of your own spirit. And if you can do that, then each day of your life, the kind of deeper sources of negativity and deeper sources of conflict and isolation and so forth. These are all naturally released. Tibetans like to use the word timpa. They're naturally dissolved into the sky of the infinity of being.
한가하니 흐른 산등 흩들어오던 수밀지지 하르기던 하우틀러 탑질라서니 무릉 골리고스 멜리리 팅큰 텔리리 팅큰 바이님이 기띠기친 유르도 들지테 이띠리 테리 힝우금 보르도 한가에다 못하게 민데